thanks, Lucas, for coming. Always appreciate it.
Hey, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Spiff. I really appreciate it. And no, it's awesome to be able to come out and chat with you guys and do it in this medium. It's always an adventure and a challenge for me. I found myself a little while ago when I popped in earlier. I kept hitting the T button trying to talk to you. I was like, no, wait, this isn't Minecraft. And then I kept fumbling with the controls. Like, no, this isn't Guild Wars 2. This is Second Life, and so I had this sort of mental block here. But yeah, it's just cool that we can bring all these virtual world and gaming spaces together in one place and chat about how we're using it. And as Spiff mentioned, I am an instructional technology coordinator for Pender County Schools, and so I always want to really do a shout out for my school district because they've always been really awesome about letting me experiment and try new things um, and explore new types of learning and really we've seen some really cool things about that, and I think that's just a special and unique thing. And so big shout out to the team that I work with. Um, in Pender County. They're just awesome, and I can't say enough about them. If you're on Twitter and you want to connect, please follow me. PCS Tech is my handle on Twitter, and if there's any indication in your profile or whatever that you're an educator, I'll be more than happy to follow you back because that's how we grow the network. Um, all right, so let me play around with this presentation tool here, and we'll get started. So, all of the resources that for my presentations and such, I put on my blog. That's edurealms.com. And though I did not put up a specific section for this particular presentation, the last presentation or so that I've done about Saga, everything will carry over for that. And so there you'll find um, most of the contents of this presentation, along with links to books that I recommend that you check out and read, some blogs and videos that you should watch that are really influential in my thinking, and a lot of other resources as well. So feel free to check those things out. And if there's something that's missing or you have a question about something, by all means contact me. I'm more than willing to chat with you and help out in any way that I can. All right, so let's talk about Saga. Saga is a project that began, started formulating these ideas probably the last part of last year during the school year, and realized that as I've been presenting about World of Warcraft, our World of Warcraft project, and even our Minecraft projects, that that a lot of times those things are barriers to teachers being able to bring games into the classroom because they either don't have the infrastructure, they don't have the computers, or the network, or whatever that will support those kinds of gaming programs. Um, and that was really a frustration to me because I found teachers who were willing and um, they want to be able to incorporate gaming into their classroom, into learning, but they really didn't feel like they had access to some of the tools and the hardware. So, um, one of the things that I set out to do with the Saga project is to demonstrate to teachers that bring in anything. If you have an Xbox, a PlayStation, a game, handheld gaming tool. I started to say Game Boy, and I was kind of showing my age. But a PlayStation Vita, whatever it is, iPads, bring those in and explore the gaming that happens in that space, and that there are valuable game and aspects of games that you can bring in on those platforms. So yeah, and even Nintendo 64, I totally agree that actually some of the best gaming in Nintendo was on this Nintendo 64. So the purpose of the project is to explore the learning potential in good video games, and I use that term good video games. It's there's there's a lot of contention, I'm sure, about what makes a video game good, and I'm not going to get into all that, but we know good learning when we see it, I hope, as educators. And so if there's good learning taking place in a video game by your definition, then I would suggest that you count that as a good learning in a video game. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things that make video games valuable. And I was looking at a fairly old report from the industry, the corporate world, that talked about the kinds of things that they were looking for in graduates, what kind of skills they wanted people to come into the workforce, what they would like for them to have. And aside from in fostering a lifelong love of learning in our students, there's a lot of these things that we could pick up, or that the public schools should be able to instill in our kids along the way. And I question whether we're really doing a good job of that or not. But when I look at good video games, a lot of those qualities are there. So I'm going to go through a few of those top priorities that the corporate world mentioned. And one of those was the ability to be able to think critically and to solve problems. Well, I don't know if you've played video games lately, but that's exactly what good video games do. They put the player in an environment where they have to think critically and solve very complex problems, like in the game Braid here, where you basically time travel, and the game is a puzzle platformer that works based off of this idea of going back in time and redoing things, which is a really neat concept in games. But that's very challenging, and being able to think in divergent ways is a really valuable skill, and something that would be great for all of our students to have when they leave our classrooms. Likewise, let's wait for the slide to res in. Likewise, we want our kids to, or we want people to have really solid communication and teamwork skills, because often today in the fast-paced, creative, working world, they're going to be working on teams, and sometimes those teams may not even be in the same location. And the ability to work together in a team and capitalize on the different skills that each team member brings to the table is a really valuable asset. Well, a lot of our popular online games, especially, such as Guild Wars 2 that's pictured here, really capitalizes on that ability to work as a team, to communicate well. And I've seen students time and time again in these kind of environments develop those communication skills and those leadership skills. And those are things that they will carry forward with them throughout life, and it'll help them be successful. And then the last piece is this idea or this desire for people to be creative and innovative. And I can assure you that standardized testing and high stakes standardized testing is not going to produce creativity in our students. I'm starting to hear some pushback against our heavy emphasis on standardized testing and standardization of curriculum in the Common Core and things like that. And now the big push is for STEM this and STEM that. And don't get me wrong, I think the STEM curricula are very important things, but I saw a really interesting suggestion recently that we call it STEAM and add the arts into that. And I think that is a great idea, because creativity is going to be the thing that sets kids apart. And there's going to be millions and millions of kids in the world from all over the world who can do science and who can do technology and engineering and math. But creativity and fostering creativity in our schools is something that we really need to take advantage of. So yeah, I'm a big proponent of throwing that A into the STEM, and let's put arts in that, and really connect all those things together, and then I think we'll be onto something. So yeah, this idea of fostering creativity and innovation, there's a lot of games out there that really do that, and Minecraft that's pictured here is one of those. And I gave a little tour last night to some folks Florida in our Minecraft server, and they were blown away at the things that our kids were doing, and I was blown away. They're in their building and making things all the time, and I'm constantly amazed as I fly in and zip around the world and look at what they're making, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we have really got to continue to foster this and tap into that. And the games that they're playing outside of school are doing that. So why not bring them into the classroom? A lot of what Saga is about is bringing and kind of fostering those kinds of ideals in a classroom environment. So I'm always mentioning James G in my presentations, and you guys have heard about G and his work. If you haven't read G's work, there's a good white paper that you can find out there on just Googling it about video games and learning, and it's worth a read. It's very easy, and it's basically a good summary of his other work. But yeah, the games really tap into that pleasant frustration, and they give us challenges that are hard but doable kinds of challenges. And sometimes, again, I think we miss out on that in the classroom. And likewise, G lists a lot of ideas that are really embedded in good gameplay. And we talk about these sorts of things, and people have gotten PhDs on these sorts of things in the academic world. And here they are embedded in all of our good video games. So these things like just-in-time learning and situated meaning and all that, those are all components of good games. So why are we not paying more attention to games in the classroom? That's a good question. So moving forward with the idea of Saga, one of the things that I've noticed is that our kids will consume digital media voraciously. They have voracious appetites for it, and one of the things that I want them to do, and that we're encouraging through this program, is for them to be thoughtful consumers of the media that they are exposed to, and think about it. And I think that is a real challenge, and one of the real challenges of the program, because our kids have really kind of constructed this separation between play and learning. And let me see if that slide's coming up here soon. If not, yeah. It's one of the things that I am encountering, not only with the kids that I work with in my district, but I'm starting to find out that this is a trend around the world, and it's what I'm calling this wall. And kids have built a wall between this idea of play and learning, and that they feel like play and fun and games are something that has to happen outside of school, and work and grades and learning are something altogether separate, that they are mutually exclusive. And so one of the things that I've tried to convince our kids and then the outside world when I talk to kids is that that's not necessarily the case. And interestingly enough, some of the biggest pushback that I've received on the projects that I've been involved with is coming from kids, and that scares me. It's there's a really interesting discussion. There's a great video on TED where it's talking about the importance of play. And in that presentation, Dr. Brown, I think it's Dr. Brown, quotes Dr. Brian Sutton Smith, and he says the opposite of work is not play, it's depression. And that's so true. And we really need to get beyond this idea that play and work are separate ideas. So there are other people out there talking about this as well. And so that's one of my challenges too, is from a professional development standpoint, which is one of my primary roles in my district, is teacher technology professional development, is to show teachers that play is really one of the most powerful forms of learning can get kids engaged in. So Yeah, Beth, absolutely. Preschoolers doing worksheets should be a crime. Actually, high schoolers doing worksheets should be a crime, but I would be arrested for my past life as a high school science teacher for that. So I can't argue too much about that. Um, but here's an example of my evidence that our kids are building a wall in their minds, and it's something that disturbs me. I've posted last year. I posted a video of our students in Minecraft. And these were fifth graders. I'm sorry, these were fifth graders at one of our elementary schools, and I just walked around with my iPad, um, and I just went around and talked to them as they were playing and kind of interviewed them. Tell me what you're doing. What are you building? Why are you making that? What have you learned? Those kinds of questions, just really simple questions. And the video has really kind of blown me away because I guess you would call it's kind of gone viral. I checked the other day and we're over 1.5 million views. And it's kind of funny because YouTube has all these interesting analytics in the background that you can go and kind of find out how people are getting to your video and who they are and what they, where they're from and all that kind of creepy Big Brother kind of stuff. So of course I'm looking at that. And one of the things that I'm finding is that the majority of the people viewing it have gotten there by trying to find ways around their filters and blocks in their school so that they can play Minecraft while they're at school. So right there is a red flag right off the bat, as if we didn't know kids were trying to do that. And the second thing is that they're getting it while they're out looking for other videos related to Minecraft that tell them how to do different kinds of things in Minecraft. But as they're seeing and coming across our video, there's either one of two general responses from these early teens and tweens that are finding this video. And what they're saying is either one, coolest school ever, lucky, those kinds of things, or they're pushing back. And this is a quote from one of the kids that posted a response to my video. And based off of other videos that this kid posted, he's probably 13 or 14 years old. And I thought this was kind of disturbing because a couple of the lines, he said you shouldn't have fun during school because they might get used to it. And that school needs to show them that life gets harder every single day of their lives. That is a tragedy. And what are we doing to our kids when they go on YouTube and they post things like this? And this is their discussion. Yeah, this disturbs me, and it is really sad. And this is not the only comment like this that I have gotten. I've gotten several like this, and so yeah, it's a red flag to me. So really want our kids to be thoughtful about consuming their media, and as
Hush.
they're playing, realize that yeah, it's okay for me to learn something here, and that learning can take place in this space, and not just from a textbook or a worksheet or from somebody lecturing to me at the front of the classroom. That learning can take on a variety of forms, and I can actually enjoy it. And in fact, the most powerful learning is probably when I am enjoying it. So in Saga, we're really trying to get back to this idea of curiosity and exploration and getting kids to try new sorts of things as they're playing. So in addition to thoughtful media consumption, we also want them to be critical media consumers. And so one of the kinds of things that we're having the students do is actually kind of analyzing the media in the games that they're consuming and be critical of it as you would criticize movies or literature or any other kind of media. And that's proving challenging for us as well. We also are looking for um, opportunities for students, as I said, to write reviews. So we have our kids playing games on different kinds of platforms, Xboxes and PlayStations and such, and then we're having them write critical game reviews, and then we're going to be publishing those online. So they've done their first round of those. We should get them up here pretty soon. We may want to give them an opportunity to do a little polishing first, but they're going to be writing game reviews, and that's one of the activities that they can do in this program, because we know that one of the things that's really important for kids is to have their voice heard. And if they are like me, and I'm sure they are, and maybe even more so, I put a lot of stock into peer reviews more so than I do any kind of advertising. Um, we also want kids to look at the storytelling that's in video games. So, so we have kids playing the games and then looking at the elements of the story and talking about that story, and even taking that story further through creative writing projects. So, an example of a game that we have for the kids to play that's a really interesting form of storytelling is Journey. And Journey is a fantastic, short but fantastic video game that does a great job of telling a story without any kind of dialogue at all, or written word or anything. It's completely visual storytelling. Um, and so it's really interesting to see how students are responding to these kinds of games and these kind of environments. I will jump in and answer that question. Grid Jumper, you said the use of these games during the school. Yeah, this is actually going on as an elective course. I should have said that at the beginning. I apologize. This is happening as an elective 8th grade middle school course. And so our kids are doing this as part of what we call our enrichment and intervention period during one of our schools, one of our middle schools, Cape Fear Middle. So kids are in here. And I'll talk about the structure of the class in just a minute, and how it works. That sort of the functioning of the class, which is really an experiment in and of itself that we're learning from. But just really cool stuff. Other examples of games that have great storytelling that the kids are going to be exploring. Bastion is another one. Fairly recent, independently developed game. Definitely recommend that you check that out if you haven't. It's really good. And so Guild Wars 2 is another one, and I'll be completely honest. I incorporated Guild Wars 2 into this because I'm also testing this as a replacement for our World of Warcraft in our WoW in School project. And that is actually, I just officially announced that today, that is actually a green light. We're going to be doing swapping out World of Warcraft for Guild Wars 2 sometime this year, and definitely in the coming year, as our two World of Warcraft and school projects go forward. So yeah, that's really cool. We're excited about it because, one, it's a new game, and new structure, new approach to that whole thing. And yes, as Peggy says, no subscription fee. And and that's one of the challenges behind WoW and School Project is WoW's a great game, fantastic game, but that subscription fee is killing us financially, because when you pay $15 a month times 15 kids in a class times X number of months in 10 months in a school year, it really adds up. So yeah, paying one-time fee for Guild Wars 2 and then having them be able to play completely competitively and enjoyably without, they don't even have to do the microtransactions. Yeah, it's going to be a win for us, I'm sure. So we're really excited about that. The kids that are playing Guild Wars 2 and Saga are incredibly excited about it too. We also are going to encourage our kids through this project to build their own stories. So a lot of the games that I'm trying to bring into the classroom is or involve level builders or world builders or things like that. So games like Little Big Planet 2 are going to be a part of it. I think I've got a couple other examples here. Portal 2 is another one that we're using. We just had the kids wrap up their play in Portal 2. Most of them we started them all out in Portal 2 because, one, it was free through the Teach with Portals program. If you haven't seen that, check it out. It's awesome because you can get free Portal for your kids to play. But one of the things that's awesome about that is the perpetual testing initiative, and and our kids were building these insane levels with this building tool. I need to go into the classroom and capture screenshots of some of the levels. And one of the kids was straight up diabolical in the level that he created, and he would laugh, when people tried it because it was so challenging, and he was so proud of it, and it was incredibly complex. Valve's level building tool is incredibly intuitive. It's literally drag and drop. And if you want to get into the science of the physics behind it, you can now, with a recent update, go in and edit things like the gravity, the effect of gravity, the amount of force that a springboard applies, and see how it changes things in that virtual space. Really, really cool. So yeah, thank you for linking that. That's such a really cool thing. And Valve is one of those companies that get it. They're actually reaching out to the education community and doing a fantastic job because free is something that we can afford. So other examples, StarCraft 2 is one of those games that has its own level builder in it. It is incredibly complex, and so I've had a couple of our kids jump into that, and they're testing it out right now. But it's really stretching them because they're realizing the complexity of it too. So we're going to see where that goes and how far they take that. And as I mentioned, Little Big Planet 2 is another really neat game. Our kids haven't started that one yet, but I'm really looking forward to that because because it's a game that I want to play and get into and explore. And it has the ability to get in and let you build your own levels and things like that. So that's one of the things. And who knows, this may lead to an interest in our kids in exploring this as a future career option. So a lot of different kinds of things that our kids can do. Another goal of the Saga project is to really break down barriers, and we've in Pender County schools, starting out with World of Warcraft was really awesome because it's kind of like once you've done World of Warcraft, anything's possible. And that's something that we started with World of Warcraft. I got the permission to move forward with that project. Minecraft, then you show people Minecraft, they're like, oh yeah, no problem there. I mean, you've got sword wielding orcs and goblins in the other game, and here in Minecraft you've got these nice little 8-bit blocky characters. So yeah, no problem, go for it. And so the idea behind Saga, also one of the motives behind it, was just to say that to break down all the other frontiers. The let's move into the console environment and show examples and give relevant examples of how people can use consoles in the classroom. So if you're a teacher or a media coordinator in your library, and all you have access to or all you have funding for is a single Xbox, bring it in, and we're going to give you examples and show you, yes, that you can do this, that you can get that the filters and all these other barriers that we tend to think that are out there that are keeping us from doing these kind of innovative things in the classroom, that we're going to bust through those. And so that's part of the project's goal too, is to kind of break those barriers down. And so, like I said earlier, we're looking at all different sorts of platforms, bringing in handheld and consoles and PC and iPads. It's really neat because there's nothing safe. In fact, I'm really excited and holding back a little bit of my funding for the spring, and hoping that this new game console called the Ouya. If you haven't seen that, go Google. I'll type into the chat. OUYA. It's an Android-based console. It's going to be like $99 and completely open source. So I'm hoping it's really going to attract the independent game community, and that we'll see some really exciting things emerge there. But yeah, I'm going to hold back $99 just to pick up one of those too for the program as well. Yeah, definitely an Android gamers market. I think it's going to be great. I'm a big iPad fan and I love the App Store, but I'm not an elitist by any means. Bring me video games on any platform and I'll play them. So yeah, take a look at those. That's really cool. Um, And that's right. WIA was a Kickstarter campaign too, and it is well beyond its funding level. One of the other things too that we wanted to do with this project, and you guys are helping me fulfill that goal tonight, is outreach and professional development. Part of what we wanted to do with this project was create a space for not only for our kids but for teachers, and to show them that classrooms don't have to look like what we typically think classrooms look like. And what would it be like if we took a different approach to it? And what would it be like if I brought teachers in and just have a day where teachers are just going to play games, and we're going to talk about them, and do the same kinds of activities that I do with students, where we're critical players and critical consumers of the media, and then trying to get them to put on their teacher glasses as they're playing these games and explore. So that's one of the things that we're going to be doing with this project. We're actually, if things go, yeah, Abic is absolutely right. I think one of the things that we're going to try to do, and so far everything's falling into place at our state technology conference at our IST affiliate, NC Ties. We're going to set up a learning arcade, or education arcade, I guess. And we're going to take our hardware that we've picked up with the SIGVE project up there and set it up. And I think we've got some vendors lined up. They're going to bring in some televisions for us. And then my goal, if I can get all the paperwork taken care of and some chaperones, is we're going to take our kids from the project up there and let them man the education arcade during one day of the conference, and bring teachers in, grab them by the hand, go out and grab them, pull them out of sessions on education policy and all that boring kind of junk, and bring them in and make them play video games, and get them and learning and exploring games and sharing what they learn. So hoping that's going to happen. Yeah, I'd love to bring a bunch to IST. Wow. Right now, getting kids out of the district is almost like an act of Congress. So out of state and San Antonio, I'm not sure that's going to happen, Scott. But that would be great. And it's definitely something I would love to be able to do with our kids. So yeah, like I mentioned, one of the things that we're going to do is really look at rethinking what a learning space looks like. And so we have I've set out to kind of use this project as an excuse to explore really rethinking what a classroom looks like. And so our awesome building person, I went to them and say, okay, I've got this grant for the SIGVE project, but I also really want to rethink this, what a space might look like for students and learning. And so I showed him some furniture, and he said, that's really expensive. I can help you out, but let me show you some examples of what we can get. And I looked at him, I said, okay, I've only got one stipulation. Everything has to be on wheels. And so we took an old computer lab that had sort of fixed stations all around the perimeter of the classroom, and really, really old computers, and moved those computers out to the teachers' classrooms, and brought in tables and chairs, and they're all on wheels. In fact, the only thing that's not on wheels are the televisions that are fixed to the wall. There's no teacher desk in this space. That was a stipulation as well. If teachers are going to be in there, they're welcome to use the same tables as the kids. I really would like them to sit in and amongst and around the kids, because I encourage the teachers to get in and actually play with their kids. And so the space that we've set up is very, very flexible. There's power strips all along the wall. So the idea is that everything is mobile. And so we have the classroom set up. Let me see. I think I've got another picture in here as well. Yeah. And I've got a lot of other pictures out there, and you can find these if you go to the SIGVE wiki, where I've got this stuff set up. You can see the classroom, and it can be arranged in all sorts of ways. We can make a big rectangle out of the tables and have a Socratic seminar. We can line the tables up in rows against each other and have a debate. There's all kinds of interesting things you can do. And since everything's on wheels, it takes literally seconds. The flat panels are displaying from our different consoles, and so we have one PlayStation and two Xboxes in there, and those are in our little mobile carts. and we can move those around, as needed. We had kids the other day that were playing Star Wars Connect, and at that one station by the door that you see in this picture. And so we just took a bunch of the tables and just rolled them up against the wall, and they had all the space that they needed. Um, I haven't invented the wheel, Scott, but I have taken advantage of it for the classroom. Um, so yeah, so the idea here is just keeping everything flexible, and this is a space that I'm never hesitant to bring teachers into. And when they come in, they look around and they're like, "Why is my classroom not like this?" And that's the kind of question that I want people asking is, so the next time we build a school building or the next time we go and buy furniture, my only request, just make sure it's on wheels. It's really easy. Once it's on wheels, you can do all kinds of neat things with it, and it becomes very flexible. Okay, let me navigate here. Um, how long did it take convince the facilities to put wheels on the furniture? Seconds. That our David, our building guy, who handles all this stuff, was just showing me some examples of what they had, and I said, can we get that on wheels? I just want the chairs to be on wheels and the tables to be on wheels, because the idea behind this is that we can reconfigure that and make it into different arrangements. And I kind of showed him some ideas of what I wanted to be able to do, and he said, we'll ask the company, our supplier, and the supplier said, yeah, we have little casters for all of this stuff, and so they just added that in, and it has worked out beautifully. So a little more about the class. And one of the things that I told the kids when they came in on the first day, and I'm working with two teachers in this class, Scott Deasy and Tara Halsey, and they are incredible, not only for just their own teaching, but for being willing to be kind of my guinea pigs and come alongside me and help out with this. And I really, really, really appreciate everything that they're doing. And so I get down there to the school as often as I can, because I love to be in and around the kids and help out with the things that are going on. But on the first day, one of the things that I told the kids is that this isn't a class. And they looked at me kind of strange, because everything in school is a class. What do you mean? I said, no, this is a game. And I told them that in this game, they're going to fail. And I said, you're going to fail, and you're going to fail a lot. You're going to fail epically. And your teachers are going to fail, and I'm going to fail, and that's okay. I want you to get used to this idea of failure, because that's how you're going to be learning in this space, and that's okay. We really want to embrace this idea of failure. And I talked to them about the games I play. So do you ever play one of these hard games, Halo or Call of Duty or whatever, and play it all the way through and never die? And of course, no one says yes. I said, you fail. You fail at this all the time. And so what I told him is, like, you need to embrace this, and failure is something that's going to happen all the time in here, and I want you to be comfortable with it. And when we fail, we're going to learn from how we failed, and we're going to move on and change, and it's going to be a growing experience for us. And that kind of really set the tone for the class so far. And they started asking some really interesting questions. I said, we may switch up the way this program works halfway through. We may find that things aren't working a certain way. We're going to switch it up. So we're learning and we're failing alongside you as your teachers. So if you have suggestions on how this class works, or I'm sorry, this game, how this game works and what you can do in this game. And one of the kids, no lie, should raise his hand and ask me, so can we hack this class? And I thought it was a brilliant question. And I said, you know what? Absolutely. You can hack this class. And I want you to hack this class. Because that's going to be a learning process too. And so if you have a suggestion, or if you want to change the way that the game works or whatever, we're going to be open to that possibility. And so that's part of our premise moving forward, is that, yeah, this is a hackable class. And it is that gamer disposition, absolutely. So a couple of the kinds of quests that our kids can embark on in this space, there's all sorts of things that they can do. And we're adding to it as they go too. But a couple of kinds of things that they're doing with the games that they're playing. Digital storytelling of all sorts, like creating web comics, videos, etc. Designing their own game levels, writing game reviews, fan fiction, creating screenplays or dramas based off of video game characters or inspired by the video games that they're playing, creating machinima, interviewing game programmers, etc. And this is just a starter list, because the beauty of the way that we're kind of organizing this program is that it's completely flexible. And in fact, we have, after we've kind of talked to the kids and they've had their first experiences, we've got a quest in our game, our class, where we encourage them to give us ideas about things that they might do with the games that they're playing. What are some kinds of activities like this that you would want to do? And they're coming up with really good suggestions. And guess what? They're hacking the game. And so we're going to start incorporating those kinds of things into and let them earn experience points and such as they progress through the class. So yeah, I mentioned experience points. And so as students complete these kinds of activities, whether they're writing game reviews or building levels, they're earning experience points because the class is completely gamified, and we're using that awesome system from Boise State, 3D Game Lab, and I absolutely can't say enough good things about it. It's awesome. So yeah, as the players or the students are working through this class, they're earning experience points as an individual, and they're leveling up. And so there was a question about what the cost was for this. This whole project was funded by a grant from the ludusproject.org, and the budget was around $4,900, I think, and I've still got a good portion of that left over. So I haven't spent all that yet. Now that did not include the furniture, so the tables, chairs, and paint are not included in that. It's one of those awesome situations where sometimes money begets money, and when people see that there's energy and success and positive press behind something, they're willing to support it, and that was the case here. And so I did not have to purchase the furniture for this. I really don't know what that furniture cost. It's nothing super high end, but it's sturdy and durable, and it's from one of our state contract furniture suppliers. And it's on wheels, and that's all I care about. So, so one of the ways that this class is structured is, as a player or a student is going through, and in 3D Game Lab, they pick up a quest. So maybe the quest talks to them a little bit about the art in video games. And so we'll introduce it, and then we'll have them go out and do a little bit of learning about maybe about what it's like to be a art designer for a video game and what they do and how they work. Maybe some articles or just some basic factual information that they can go out to websites and explore a little bit about that. And then from there, we have them take it to the next level if they want to. If they want to take it to the next level, then we give them opportunities to create their own art in that space, and they can base it off of inspiration from any of the games that they're playing. So that's kind of how they work. So we kind of have a progression. You can dabble in it, or you can go deep with it. And then one of the other cool things about this, and this is all experimental. We're completely building this airplane while it's in the air. And some of this is working and other things aren't. And I get some really interesting reflection when I go and discuss with the teachers that I'm working with, Scott and Tara, about how this is going on. And one of the other things that we're doing is that individuals in the class are also on teams, because we want to explore this idea of teamwork in that space. So we have 3 teams, red, yellow, and blue teams, partly because I have red, yellow, and blue chairs. So it just kind of made sense. And so we have 3 teams of 5 students each, and we take and create a pool of experience points that's an accumulation, or a pool of each individual's total experience points in the class. We then took that information and we say, okay, once each of these teams reaches a certain milestone, we call it a phase or an unlock phase, they have the opportunity to unlock a new game for the class library. So our first cutoff was 1,000 experience points, and once, like the red team, for example, reached 1,000 experience points, they got to go in and look at a list of available games and unlock that for the class library. Then that team gets the priority of playing that game first, and then once they're done with it, or if the game, the logistics allow, the rest of the class can explore that game as well. And so as each team reaches that first milestone, they add new games from our kind of collection of games that we've got kind of hidden away. They get to add that to the class library and begin to explore that. And again, doing more kinds of activities as they're playing these games. So they may start out by looking and analyzing fictional elements or story elements in a particular game. Once they've completed that, they can do that again, or they can go to the next level and actually begin to write their own fan fiction inspired by a game. And so it's a really interesting dynamic. It is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. We're finding ups and downs with it. Some things are working good. Some kids, if we allowed them, would be quite content to sit and play Portal all day long. And Portal's a great game, don't get me wrong, but getting them to move out into these other games is a little challenging because I guess Portal is a comfort zone. Um, so hopefully, Spiff, that you're catching some of these questions because I've missed a few, I know. So hopefully we'll have time to come back to those at the end. So you guys help me keep track of that, and I'm yeah, okay, perfect. Thank you. So that makes for an interesting dynamic in the class. And like I said, experience points at different milestones unlock new games for the class library. What I'm finding and is that I'm having to patch the game quite often because players are finding loopholes and workarounds in it. So we're having to patch the class. In other words, we're having to go in and edit and adjust and make adjustments as we go along because of just technical things and oops, we awarded double experience for something that we shouldn't have. So what we've done is just we've adjusted those milestones for when they get to unlock games. So initially we had it at every 1,000 points. And what we're finding is that our kids can unlock new games at very, much more quickly and more kinds of activities they can do with the games. So they're earning experience points at an accelerated rate. And so we had to bump up our second unlock to, I think, 3,250. And that was kind of keeping it, giving them a goal it's tangible, but it's still outside a little bit of what they're doing right now, and so keeps the pressure up on them and keeps them challenged. So yeah, so really neat things that we have going on in the class. Here's a picture of some of our kids playing Portal. This is kind of where we started. We had them since Portal was free. We were able to offer it to all the kids at the same time, and so really exciting stuff. And like I said, kids were eating Portal up. They really loved it. So that's the presentation. That's Saga. Um, Everything that we're doing will at some point or another. Now that I've got like 3 game-based projects going on in my district, I'm finding myself starting to get spread thin. I'm going to have to slow down a little bit. But I'm going to be adding some examples of student work and so forth up on the site. But that's the basic idea behind it. It is a work in progress, and I will be more than happy to share ups and downs and such as we learn from the project. Okay, so I guess we have some time for some questions. I hope. Spiff, can you help me out with what I've
Absolutely.
missed?
Yeah, no, I've got, I don't know if you picked up on Scott's question, but with this being an elective class, do you have to align it with state standards in order to give credit?
No, no. So our elective classes are not under any particular standard curriculum. So it's completely enriching to, or an enrichment on top of what they're already getting in their standard language arts class.
I know there were some questions about cost, but I think you answered it with your grant award.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to just repeat your grant award and
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
kind of adding on to
absolutely.
that, Lucas, if I could, what are some maybe grant writing secrets, especially in this area?
Um, I honestly, um, it's been a really interesting kind of experience because initially like our World of Warcraft project was initially funded by a grant from the Brenham and Jake Foundation, and I admittedly I did not go and seek that grant out. They sought me out. And so the message to teachers is
and educators is market what you're doing and the cool things that your kids are doing in the classroom. Share that with the world. Get out on Twitter, start a blog, do whatever you can, and hopefully you will get on someone's radar. I was very fortunate enough to get on Linda Brenneman's radar, and Linda runs the Brenneman Jake Foundation based off of her experiences with working with our project and her interest and her kids' interest in games and game-based learning. They did a sort of a spin-off side um, project called the Ludus Project, and that you can, I'll link that here, and they fund classroom game-based learning projects and or other any really game-based learning projects up to $5,000. Was where we got our funding for the Saga project. So yeah, other than that, I think tying things to student learning and the creativity thing really reaches the ears of some folks, and that's important. I think people realize that kids need something more than rows and desks and lecture, and so just talking about what you're going to do, and along the way, I always make it a point to be completely transparent about what we're doing and sharing that, and so I think people appreciate that too.
There's a few questions about kind of, I think, the data that goes into this. I know, many of us, in our school districts have to offer some sort of supporting research or data for projects, especially something like this. Is there a good source of information for getting data and even just looking at things like ethnic backgrounds, gender, that sort of thing?
We're not doing a heavy amount of data collection here. I've seen, just sort of anecdotally speaking, and I think we have some numbers to back this up, and just kind of glanced at some of the data. We have seen with our World of Warcraft project, for example, all of our kids that were involved in that project in last year's program, all of them except one showed growth on their state exams. And we've seen improvements in attendance for kids involved in these projects. Definitely those kinds of things. But aside from that, I'm not. It's not one of my primary goals to show that our kids are improving on their state exams. Um, it's what I'm more interested in is seeing kids who are excited about learning, and I know that you guys are in school districts too that want that data. Show me the data. And the problem is, I think sometimes we so strive for this data and we want numbers to prove something that we miss what's happening right in front of us. And so I've been really fortunate not to be put in that position a great deal. um, I've got the support of the classroom teachers, the principals, and the district leadership to say that yes, we have come into your classroom, we've used our eyes and are observing what's happening in that classroom, and we believe that this is a good thing. I think it's also awesome that we have scheduling set up in such a way that we offer things like band and art and this program as an alternative to they can do this as an elective if they want to, and so that's one of those things too. But if you're looking for a place to start, don't forget to go out and consider starting as a club or an after school club. It's most people will not fight you a lot about starting clubs because it's a safe place to fail.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
Let me ask maybe a more broader question. And I know that, the gang here in the audience is, kind of, we're speaking to the choir here. So I think most of us here have been over the mountaintop and we've seen the valleys of fruit and honey. How do we convince the others to come up over the mountain with us?
Wow. Um, that's a really good question. And and I'm not sure that I don't have a silver bullet for that problem. I'm finding that often it's that whole principle of you can take a horse to water, but you can't make them drink kind of scenario. I thoroughly believe that these kind of projects are they're rich and they're amazing, and I see kids doing incredible things, and they're showing their learning and they're showing excitement. That has been by far, the kids have been by far the number one convincing tool for teachers and educators that I have. More than me talking and sharing things like I'm sharing with you guys tonight, if you were to walk into this classroom, you would see incredible things. And what you would see more than anything are kids who are absolutely excited about what they're doing, and that it's happening in school, and that it's a project just for them, and they realize it and they're really owning it. I had a good example of this just a few days ago. I was speaking to a group of beginning teachers in our district, and that's something I do every year. Once we get our new teachers in, they kind of go through this orientation, hazing, or whatever you want to call it. And so we had them meeting actually at the school where Saga was going on. And so one of the things that our retention recruitment coordinator for our district, Cindy, was asking me to do, she said, talk to them about the game-based learning projects that are going on, and share this with them. And so I started talking about it. And then for whatever reason, I don't know why, I didn't realize. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. We're at Cape Fear Middle. Let's go on a field trip. And guess what? Teachers love field trips just as much as kids do. So at 11 o'clock, we all got up, walked out of the media center, walked down the hall. And I told them before they got down there, I said, listen, guys, I was talking to the teachers. When you go in there, I want you to get in the kids' business. Get up in their face. Talk to them about what they're doing. Ask them why they're doing what they're doing. Ask them hard questions. And and so I took the teacher, and the kids had no idea that these teachers were coming down. Though I do always tell our kids in all of these projects that I was like, guys, you're doing something special. You're doing something unique. The world is going to be watching what you're doing, and I'm going to make sure of it. So you better be ready to explain to people what you're doing and why this is important and why we need to be doing this in schools. And so when I brought this group of teachers in, the kids' eyes got really big, like, uh-oh, it's test day. We're on the spot. And the teachers, to their credit, did an amazing job. They just went and sat down beside some of the kids who were playing Portal in this classroom and started asking them questions. And after we'd been in there for about 20 minutes, I saw some really cool things going on. First off, the kids were passing the controls off to the teachers, saying, "Here, you try this, you try this," and we're walking the teachers through Portal and how to play Portal and how to move around. And then a kid came up to me, and this was kind of a quiet, timid kid, and he said, "Hey, Mr. G, can I go show this teacher my writing, the game review that I wrote?" I'm like, "Absolutely." And so he was very excited. He went and dug through his bag and got out his handwritten draft and went over and shared it, and all these kind of activities, just a buzz in the classroom. And then I heard the teachers start having conversations. And this was also fascinating. The teachers started talking about what they saw going on in this space, and there were some really deep, reflective conversations going on between these new starting teachers. And so that was powerful on both fronts from my point of view. As we were leaving the classroom, I heard one girl look over at another and say, "Wow, I don't think I've ever been interviewed before." And so that sealed it right there. As this kid actually realizes the value, and that she is valued as a learner alongside these teachers, and that they are having an actual genuine interest in what the kids are doing, and what the adults are interested in that. And so that was just a really powerful thing. And so I went back and I told the teachers after we got back, the beginning teachers, like, you guys really don't know how awesome that was. And we did a little processing outside of it. So yeah, that's the best way, I think, to really get people over the mountain, is to get them in the trenches. That's kind of, wow, that's kind of deep. Oh wow, I gotta stop. Anyway, it's getting them into the classroom and seeing these kinds of things in action. Other than that, I can talk about it all day, but until people have these kinds of experiences and see it for themselves, I think it's really challenging for them to grasp.
Okay, Lucas. Sad to say, this kind of ends our ends our hour, but I know the people that are around us here will certainly connect in a variety of ways and keep at you. And Maggie put in your PB Works site to so other people can find more information about what you did and find the rubrics and other kind of high quality uh, learning activities that match what you did here. So I want to thank everyone for coming. There's a lot of great comments. We've got a real first class group out there. And thanks so much, Lucas. I know this is coming down
Thank
to
you,
people
and I
traveling,
appreciate
and
everybody coming in and the really great conversation. And just in closing, guys, I mean, if there's anything I can do to help you move forward with projects like this in your schools, in your classrooms, in your libraries, or whatever, don't hesitate to contact me by email, Skype, Twitter, whatever. I have Skyped in and talked to a stuffy school board in the Midwest before about it, and I've Skyped in and talked to very energetic kids who are trying to convince their teachers that they need to go this way too. So I'm not opposed to chatting with people and sharing what we've experienced and trying to help you convince them if you need me to.
yeah, please take Lucas up on that offer because he's done it. I can tell you that. So thanks again, Lucas. For those of you in the USA, Thanksgiving is coming up, but even though it's not in the U.S., I think we can all be thankful for educators like you, Lucas, who are leading the way and doing some great things. So thanks again, and thanks everyone. Good night. And before I turn off the tape, I also want to thank my co co-conspirators here, Scott Merrick and Grid Jumper, who helped put this all together.